Okay, great. Here we go. Here's a question for you. Let's make sure that this coming on doesn't then make a lot of noise when, here we go. Yeah, I've turned that off. Perfect. Okay. When was the last time you felt pure joy while you were creating? Not relief when it was done, not pride when someone complimented the piece, but real in the moment joy during the creative process itself. If it's been a while, you're not alone. It's so easy to get caught up in perfectionism, pressure, deadlines, all that kind of thing, that we lose touch with the joy that brought us to this work in the first place. In today's episode of The Thriving Creative, we're talking about how to reconnect with creative joy, not just at the finish line, but at every messy, magical step along the way. So let's dive in. Welcome back to The Thriving Creative. I'm Gabrielle Senza, your host, and today's conversation is one I think we all need. That is how to rediscover and protect joy in your creative process. Whether you're a painter, a musician, a writer, or a multi-passionate maker, it's easy to lose touch with the pleasure of creating when you're focused on results, deadlines, sales, audience feedback, or even just getting it done. But creative joy actually is fuel. And without it, the work becomes a chore instead of an act of discovery. I have definitely been in that position numerous times. So today we're going to talk about what creative joy really is and why it's essential for sustainable creativity, common joy blockers and how to shift them, simple ways to build delight back into your creative process, and inspiring stories from artists who've made joy part of their signature style. If you're ready to fall back in love with your work, this episode is for you. So, creative joy is not just about feeling happy all the time or every time you're in the studio. Of course, you're going to have ups and downs in the process. But what we're talking about is really like the sense of play and of curiosity and delight, kind of bringing a child's mind, a beginner's mind into the practice. And to do so, especially even when it's challenging. So it's those little moments when, for example, a surprising color combination makes you smile, or when a line in your poem makes you laugh out loud, or when you lose yourself in the rhythm of your process and remember why you started creating in the first place, right? It's like this excitement. For me, it's like an excitement in the belly, like a, oh my gosh, what's next kind of feeling. This is awesome. And also, it's important to remember that joy is not a luxury. It's really, joy is a compass helping you navigate toward work that feels more aligned, authentic, and alive. It's also a protective buffer against burnout, helping you sustain your creative practice long term. So, if creative joy feels out of reach, it's often because something is getting in the way. Here are a few common joy blockers and how to shift them. Number one, perfectionism. This comes up a lot on my podcast. When you're obsessed with getting it right, there's no room for play or discovery. So reframe the process as experimentation. And then there are no wrong answers, no wrong moves, no wrong mess ups. Like, sure, it's going to go through different phases and it'll look good or feel good, or it'll feel bad and look bad. But allowing yourself to that time for experimentation and play is so essential for So for new discoveries in your practice, but also to reconnect with the excitement of why you were moved to make art in the first place. So let go of the perfectionism. This is a big one for me, and I have had the joy of doing that during my 3-month residency here at the Nob Hill Artist Residency. And I was able to create a number of new paintings um, that I had in my mind around my Antarctica trip. And what really inspired me about that trip, the colors of Antarctica, the blues, the grays, the whites. So I was able to explore that in painting, and I still have more to do. And that's really this one about perfectionism is really important for me to remind myself frequently, even as I'm doing that, to let go of my expectations, allow it to be messy, allow it to look bad, allow for a bunch of failed versions of what I'm going for, because that's each failure, each step on the path of getting there helps me get closer. You know, it's like what they say about sales or something else. Like for every no, you're getting that much closer to the next yes. So with each failure comes more information for how to make it better and to get you to that which you envisioned or heard in your mind or saw in your mind's eye. So that's really important to allow yourself that freedom. And not saying it's easy, but it is really a key piece, and you can do it. It's a mindset thing and it's a permission thing. So you can give yourself that permission, allow for 10 or 12 mess up versions if you want to, and just give yourself some freedom to do that. I know for me in the beginning of my career, it was really hard for me to face like a clean, brand new canvas, for example, or a pristine piece of watercolor paper, you know, that might cost $12 a sheet or something like that. And it was just kind of like, oh, I don't want to mess it up, you know, and so the pressure was on to to make it perfect, to make it good, to make it um, professional looking. But that kind of robbed me of the whole process whenever I would fall into that trap of allowing myself to mess up. So sometimes what I do now is I will purchase, for example, a pad of canvas paper and work things out on the canvas. It is canvas. It's not really paper, but it comes like a pad of paper, and so therefore I can work on it and feel like it's not as precious as a full stretched brand new canvas. You know what I mean? So there are different ways you can practice it. Um, but for example, you want to come close to what it is you're going to be working on. Like those canvas pads are great if I'm doing works on canvas or even on wood that has gesso on it. But if, for example, I was practicing on paper, which is super absorbent, it's not going to have the same kind of effect at all as as the paint I'll be using on canvas, right? So obviously you want to bear that in mind, but you might make studies in on paper in acrylic or something different, but just giving yourself some room for playing and experimenting and seeing what happens. Okay, what's another blocker? Um, Another common joy blocker is external pressure. Like when your creativity feels like it's for other people, like a client or an audience or a curator, it's easy to lose the personal joy. And so, what I recommend is try dedicating part of your practice just to yourself with no expectations. Like, okay, you might be committed to doing the exhibition of, 12 new paintings that sort of fall in line with the work that got you the exhibition in the first place. That's a legitimate situation. I've run into that a whole bunch of times. And it can really impact the joy and the sense of ease that's happening in preparing for the exhibition. unless you can give yourself some latitude still for experimenting and seeing what happens along the way. And allowing for some of those things to go awry and knowing that you can pull yourself out of it using the techniques and approaches that you've already you know are tried and true, right? But if you can't get yourself to do that, allowing yourself to experiment within that body of work that you're creating for an exhibition, in this example, then you could try just having like a whole side um, stream of activity. So, for example, when I used to prepare for these exhibitions of my large scale industrial landscapes, which took extraordinary, meticulous drawing skills and patience uh, for an exhibition in Detroit area, Birmingham, Michigan, um, I needed sort of to counterbalance that with something that was really loose and really not meticulous at all. It was like the opposite. So I would just do mark making with kind of an invisible substance on linen, and then I would bring a torch to it, and where the invisible substance was, which was soldering flux, um, it would it would grab the flame and toast or burn uh, right away. And so then I could see the marks on the surface. And so it was a complete opposite. They're very abstract pieces. And it was just intended to be a place for me to explore these new ideas about abstraction and to play with new materials, which I absolutely loved. And meanwhile, I could keep my commitment to my gallery in Birmingham, Michigan, to create those industrial landscape paintings, which I absolutely loved. And I enjoyed doing a lot more because I also had this other practice to kind of balance it out, which was fantastic. And the other practice, the Torch Linen series, was it was not at all time consuming. Like I could get a few pieces made rather quickly. And that was really super satisfying because the large scale industrial pieces took a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of skill and focus and concentration and all of that. So it was just really such a beautiful balance for me. So there might be something like that you could consider. Okay, third joy blocker is comparison, right? If you're constantly measuring your work against others, your joy and appreciation is going to shrink. Instead, try to focus on your own creative evolution, like how your work feels, not just how it stacks up. Like, how do you feel looking at your work? How do you feel when you look at this body of work that you've been working on? Does it hang together? Does it work together? Or if you're working on poetry, like when you're reading through it, how does it make you feel? You know? So this is very important information for yourself. Another one that's common is overwork. So, for example, if you're just doing too much hustle, it can really kill the joy. So, creativity needs breathing room. You need time to play, you need time to rest and to wander without any agenda. Go spend some time in nature, go to a museum, go see some friends, sit and have tea, read a book, some other thing that takes you away from your work. You will come back so refreshed and so charged up and rejuvenated that when you get back to the studio and you start working, you're going to notice this sort of renewed energy and focus for your work. Most often, that works wonders. Okay, so here's some simple ways to bring more joy into your process. So the good news is that joy isn't something you have to wait for. You can actively cultivate it, even in small ways. So here are a few. Create for pleasure first. This is a great one to start off with. I'm a big fan, as you may know, for pleasure first. So start sessions with something playful and low stakes. For example, in the studio, you might be doing some doodles, or you might do a free write, or you might dance and experiment. with a new material or uh, draw with your eyes closed or something like that. Just let your hands and your mind wander. And this is just for fun because it's not like diving right into the hard work of what it is you're doing. Um, it's allowing yourself to have some openness and some playfulness, and that would be fun. Okay, number two, incorporate sensory joy. So, what does that mean? What feels good to your senses? You can try new materials, create playlists, work in a space that delights you, or bring snacks or scents that make you smile. So that's pretty self-explanatory, and you can just have fun with it, try all different things. If you like, if you really love Oreo cookies like I used to, you could mm, bring a plate of cookies to enjoy as you get going in your studio, or to give you like as a little reward, or however it works for you. Allowing it to be playful and fun and joyful is really the key. Okay, number three, celebrate tiny moments. What does that mean? Well, like, did a brushstroke surprise you? Did you write a line that made you laugh? Did you pause and savor it? Let yourself feel the joy instead of rushing right past it. Like, I just finished a painting a couple weeks ago, and it has this incredible turquoisey blue color in it that I don't think I've ever seen in any of my paintings. And I don't have the painting here because I just sent them out for an event. Uh, but it's kind of like this, almost like this blue, like a really beautiful turquoisey, watery blue. And that was one of my Antarctica paintings. So I I hope to have that painting around actually for a while because it's inspiring me to do more and to play with that color and find more ways to use it. Let's see, what else? Number four, make joy a metric. So, for example, instead of only measuring productivity or sales, you can start asking, did I enjoy the process today? What felt delightful? And what surprised me? Right? So, for example, that painting I was talking about. So, let pleasure be your guide. Let pleasure be part of your creative success criteria, right? Because what's the point of making work that you don't enjoy making, right? First of all, it's not going to be fun. And most likely, you won't be really satisfied with the results. At least that's been my experience. But if you've had a different experience, I'd love to hear about it. Can you make really good work that you're proud of when you don't enjoy the process? Hmm. I would love to know. Okay, so let's talk about some creatives who prioritize joy. Of course, there's Yayoi Kusama, and while we've mentioned her before, Kusama's career is a masterclass in joy meets discipline. Her obsession with dots became a personal source of joy and meditation. And despite personal struggles, she found delight in repetition and immersive environments. So she will put hours and hours of time into making the dots and creating these huge pieces that have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dots. And that repetitive process is, as it says, meditative. It's um, it's a great meditation. And I also frequently, even though I don't have a lot of repetition in my own creative work, I often crave it. I craved, like, just give me something repetitive I can do over and over again for a while, because I find that really um, super satisfying and, yeah, meditative. Okay, another artist is Lisa Congdon. A contemporary illustrator and author, Congdon openly talks about her late start in art and how she stays connected to the pleasure of making, especially through her vibrant color palettes, playful lettering, and personal projects designed purely for fun. So I'll put her name in the show notes. You can go check her out. Look her up. And another one is Oliver Herring. Known for his participatory projects and experimental processes, Herring embraces play as a form of collaboration. Whether working with strangers or creating absurdist installations, he allows joy and discovery to drive the creative experience. Yeah, so he allows joy and discovery to drive the creative experience, which is pretty exciting to think about. So go check out his work as well, if you're so inclined. Okay, so here is your joy challenge. This week, I invite you to reconnect with creative joy in one simple way. Make something just for you with no agenda. Try a new material or method you've never used before. Or ask yourself at the end of each session, what delighted me today? Joy isn't something you find at the end of a project. It's something you weave into the process itself. So I'd love to hear about that and what you are weaving into your process. And if you're craving more ease and play and joy in your creative life, I'm opening a few creative joy coaching sessions this month. Together, we'll explore what lights you up, uncover your personal joy triggers, and design a creative practice that feels deeply fulfilling, not just productive. So you can check out the link in the show notes to grab a session because your creativity deserves joy. Thanks for joining me for this episode of The Thriving Creative. If it resonated with you, please share it with a creative friend who could use a reminder that joy is part of the process, not just the outcome. So until next time, stay curious, stay playful, and keep creating. Love you. Mwah.